Are you thinking about selling your home? Before you start mentally spending that sales price, you need to know one very important number: your net proceeds. That's the amount of money that you actually walk away with after all of the fees, expenses, and closing costs are taken out. Hey everyone, I'm Ryan Gomillion, your Gomillion agent here in Austin, Texas, and today we're breaking down exactly how much money that you'll make when selling your home. I've even put together a simple but powerful seller net sheet so that you can estimate your true bottom line before you list. So if you're thinking about selling in 2025 or you just want to understand the numbers, this video is for you. All right, before we look at the numbers, what exactly are net proceeds? Your net proceeds are the amount of money you actually get after covering all the costs associated with selling your home. It's not just your sales price minus your mortgage. We have to factor in real estate agent compensation, closing costs, mortgage payoff, repairs and concessions, title company fees, property tax prorations, and any additional fees that vary per transaction. Let's break these down one by one and use my seller net sheet to put it all together. All right, perfect. Now that we know what seller net proceeds are, let's go ahead and dive into this estimated seller net sheet that I made and use an example. So as you see here, it is a really simple sheet that I put together, and every field that you see highlighted in yellow will be ones that you need to put in a value, and then the green will be the net proceeds spit out at the end. And everything calculates for itself. You don't need to mess with the formulas. It is all ready to go. So we will use an example here just to show you how this works. And let's say that you have a $500,000 home and you get an offer in for exactly that price. So we're going to go ahead and put in $500,000 in here. And then realtor compensation. So this is always negotiable. Nothing is ever set. And after August 2023, the seller is not obligated to pay for the buyer's agent compensation. That said, in a buyer's market, it is something that I'm typically seeing that buyers are asking for the seller to cover as their buyer agent compensation. So again, this is negotiable. Nothing is ever set, but just for the sake of this example, let's say that 6% is the total compensation negotiated as part of the contract. Next field will be the first mortgage payoff. So this will be the amount remaining that you do have on your loan. And for this example, let's say that there is $250,000 remaining. I do have a field for a second mortgage payoff if you do have another mortgage on there. For this example, we'll just put in 0. Home warranty. This is negotiated as part of the contract. Some buyers do ask for a seller to contribute for a home warranty for the home. Again, varies by home, but for this example, let's say that there was nothing asked for. And then survey cost. This is also negotiated into the contract depending on who pays for it. And sometimes you don't need a new survey depending on the home, how old it is, if there's been any additions, any things like that. The title company typically will be a really great resource to ask to see if you do need a new survey. For this example, we'll say that there was no survey needed, so we're going to put 0 in here. Title policy. This varies depending on the sales price ultimately, and also the title company is the best resource for the exact number. It is a percentage of the sales price, and the higher the sales price, the lower the percentage. For $500,000, again, it can vary a little bit, but for this example, we're going to go ahead and do 0.6% of the sales price for the title policy. Perfect. So that'll give us $3,000 for the title policy. This is estimated, so the numbers are just a little bit off. Do understand that this is just to get you in a rough ballpark so you can kind of see what you may be walking away with here. The next field, escrow fees. This is set by the title company, and typically most title companies have about the same fees. And so what I did is I plugged in for all of these set ones the fees that one of my preferred title companies do charge per transaction. And for the escrow related fees, they do $350. Same thing for the document preparation or the attorney fees. When you are purchasing a home, they do ask for an attorney to prep the documents that you're signing at closing, and there's a cost incurred with that. And so that's the one placed in this field. Courier fees. So this depends on the transaction. Typically, if you are signing remotely and not in person, there is a fee associated with sending a mobile notary out and then having those documents FedEx back to the title company or wherever they need to be in order to be signed. For this example, we're going to put in 0 in here. We'll just say everybody's signing in person. Recording fees, another title-related fee. This is the cost for recording the documents with the state and making sure everything's good to go in terms of the deed. Tax certificate fees. Also, there is a fee incurred with getting the tax certificate and also filing for the taxes after the home is purchased. HOA-related fees. This depends on if you are in an HOA and is also negotiated in the contract. So typically when you are selling a home that is in an HOA, there are resale certificate fees and then also a transfer fee. Sometimes there can be some additional fees depending on the HOA. Some of these fees, they do have a set amount on how high they can be. And within the contract, depending on your state, there's a section within there on who pays what or up to what amount. And for the sake of this example, we'll say that the seller is responsible for $350 of the HOA related fees. This does not have anything to do with any prorated HOA dues. So that's not included within there, and I'll talk on that in just a little bit. And then seller concessions. So this is also negotiated in the contract. Let's say that we got this right on the sales price offer, everything was good to go, but they were asking for, let's say, $5,000 back because maybe there was something really obvious that needed to be repaired, part of the contract, or let's say maybe it's a really savvy buyer and they're asking for the seller to contribute towards their financing cost to buy down their rate a little bit, get it a little more competitive. So for this example, let's say that there was $5,000 negotiated back from the seller to go towards the buyer. Perfect. So we have this first section all filled out here, and then this next section has to do with the property tax proration. So depending on when you're selling your home, you are responsible for the property taxes for the year up to the date that you owned it. And since property taxes, they aren't billed until the end of the year, this is all based on an estimation. So based on the previous year's tax value. And so we're going to go ahead and plug in some numbers here. Let's say $500,000 home, your annual property taxes that you paid, let's say it's around 2%. So we're going to put $10,000 in here. Not an unheard of amount in Austin. Depending on where you're at, you may have a different amount. Closing date. So this will be the calculation that I mentioned here. You do want to make sure that you're plugging this in exactly the format that you see here. So you want the month, day, and then the 4 numerical year. And let's say that this is closing on March 1st of 2025. So then that's going to go ahead and calculate the days owned based on the year from January 1st and also do the calculation on how much of the $10,000 for the property taxes is due. And as you see, once you have this plugged in, all the values here and then all the values in that upper section, then you will have the totals at the bottom. So the realtor compensation amount that we discussed before, the total closing costs from the sections up here, and then the total seller costs. So everything added together. And when you subtract that from the sales price, you get the seller net proceeds. So again, this does not include any prorated HOA dues. If you do live in an HOA, so depending on what day of the month that you close when you pay your HOA dues, you will have some of those due at the closing table. But this will give you a really close ballpark, maybe off by just a little bit, but enough to give you an idea of what you may be walking away with when you do sell your home. We went through that example. Let's adjust the numbers to a little bit higher sales price, just so you make sure that you can work through this confidently when you do plug in your own numbers. So we have the same numbers from the example that we went through before. Let's bump up the sales price to, let's do $1 million. So we'll plug that in there and we'll say that the mortgage payoff is $300,000. Excuse me, realtor compensation, let's mix it up. Let's say it's in total 5% of the sales price. Again, negotiated like we talked about before, but for this example, we'll go ahead and plug that in. No second mortgage. For this one, let's say that there was $500 asked for compensation towards a home warranty from the buyer. And we'll say no survey again on this one. Title policy for this one, since it is a higher sales price, we are going to have a different title policy amount. And for this one, let's go ahead, we'll plug in $1 million and we'll do this about 0.56%. So this will come in at $5,600. So a little bit higher, but it is a little bit less percentage of the sales price too. Escrow fees will keep the same, and document preparation attorney fees will also keep the same. Same with the courier fees. We'll say everybody is signing in person. Recording fees, tax certificate fees, again, varies on the title company, but we'll keep this the same for this example. And then HOA related fees, we'll put 0. We'll say that this one's not in an HOA. And then seller concessions, we'll say that the buyer has asked for, let's do $2,500 back from the seller here. And then annual property taxes, we're gonna go a little bit higher since this is a higher price home. We'll put in $20,000. And let's say that this is closing on, let's say July 25th, 2025. Perfect. So calculated the days, calculated the prorated property taxes there. And then as you see at the bottom, you see the total, see the net proceeds. So again, all of the seller incurred closing costs minus what is owed from the first mortgage payoff and everything else added in. And this, for this example, would be what the seller would be walking away with at the end of the transaction. Now that you understand the numbers, let's talk about how to keep more money in your pocket. Price your home right from the start. Overpricing leads to price drops and longer days on market. The right price equals better offers and a faster sale. Strategic home prep and repairs. Make sure to fix small issues before listing to avoid costly buyer demands later. A fresh coat of paint and minor updates can go a long way. Negotiate smartly. If you're in a buyer's market, like we are in Austin, be ready to offer incentives wisely. Covering closing costs might attract buyers, but don't overdo it. And make sure to work with the right agent. A great agent can help you sell faster, negotiate better, and ultimately walk away with more money. If you're in Austin, I'd love to help you do just that. So now you know exactly how to calculate your net proceeds and how to maximize them. If you're thinking of selling your home and would like to run your numbers using this sheet, shoot me an email and I'll send you your very own copy. Drop a comment below if you found this video helpful, or reach out if you're thinking of selling in Austin and would like to discuss your options. And don't forget, if you want more expert insights into the Austin real estate market, like this video and click that subscribe button for weekly videos. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see y'all in the next video.